Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Flight Ukraine. Welcome back to a new adventure. In the last video I showed you how to travel Beppu, which is one of the most famous cities in Japan for hot springs, but of course it offers more than that. If you didn't watch my Beppu video, I recommend checking it out using the link on the top right corner of the screen. In this video I'm taking you to Osaka, my next destination in Japan after Beppu. This is a completely different type of destination since Osaka is one of the biggest cities in Japan and it's a real concrete jungle. But this city has its own charm and I'll show you why. We traveled to Osaka by plane from the Oita airport, the closest airport to Beppu. You can also travel from Beppu to Osaka by train, but since we didn't have a JR pass, we didn't pick that option, especially considering that the flight was relatively cheap and only took about an hour compared to 3.5 to 4 hours by train. Another great advantage of flying in Japan, assuming you're under good visibility, is that you get to see some great landscapes. Japan has an abundance of mountains and the view from above is amazing. As soon as the plane reached the Osaka area, we could see endless buildings. You can see just how huge the urban area of Osaka is by flying over it. After a smooth landing and a bus ride, we picked up our check-in bags and headed to our hotel using Osaka's top-notch public transportation network. By the way, I apologize for the dirt on the screen on that first day in Osaka. The first place we went to in Osaka was the aquarium. On the way to the aquarium, we saw a giant Ferris wheel and these very cute and stylish umbrellas. The building of the aquarium looks fantastic from the outside. The full name of the aquarium is Osaka Aquarium KAIYUKAN, and it's located in the Osaka Bay area. It used to be the largest public aquarium in the world back in 1990 when it opened, and it's still today one of the largest and certainly one of the most impressive aquariums out there. The design of the aquarium is quite unique in that you start your visit from the top and then spiral all the way down. That's very clever because it allows you to see some of the tanks from different angles and depths. One of the very first animals you'd see in the aquarium is a group of dolphins. I didn't expect to see dolphins, so it was quite a surprise to me. You can easily spend quite a long time watching these dolphins swimming and jumping out of the water. These animals are incredibly smart and they're capable of a handful of tricks. They're just a joy to watch. While the Osaka Aquarium has countless marine species on display, the main attraction is the whale sharks that swim in this huge tank. It's of course the biggest tank in this aquarium with a depth of 9 meters and a length of 34 meters. Besides whale sharks, there are other species such as mackerels and other sharks. This is also where the design of this aquarium comes very handy because you're able to walk around this tank and see it from different perspectives. It makes the experience more immersive. It's also cool to see the staff diving in this tank to perform maintenance work. There are many other great animals to see in this aquarium, such as the squids that have otherworldly colors and a unique way of swimming with their arms and tentacles. The seals almost look like they're dancing in the water rather than swimming and are almost as fun to watch as the dolphins. This big fish also has a very unique way of swimming. It uses two large fins, one above and the other below the main body. You can see hammer sharks and stingrays. They're in the same tank as the whale sharks. Of course the list goes on and on because the variety is nothing short of incredible. My favorite animals in the entire aquarium were probably these Japanese spider crabs that normally live 300 meters deep in the ocean. I mean, look at that, they really look like intimidating monsters from a sci-fi movie. The darkness of the spider crabs was in fact just an introduction to what shortly followed. In the next section of the aquarium you can find something that looks beautiful but simultaneously and ironically is very dangerous. Jellyfish, of course. These brainless creatures are marvels of evolution with a simple body yet efficient. This aquarium did an exceptional job in showcasing their innate beauty. Watching them gives you a sensation of stargazing on a clear summer night. The next part of the aquarium was another one with a special theme. This part is reserved for marine animals that live in cold natural environments. You can feel the room temperature going down a notch in this part of the aquarium. Depending on where you're from, you're likely to see some species that you've never seen before, so it's also worth spending some time there. In the last section of the aquarium you'll find some other friends that like cold weather. Penguins, of course. What's special about these guys is that they're in open air, but be ready for some bad smell. You can also find these sharks in the last section of the aquarium. What I really liked about this section was the opportunity to see a shark's egg. I've never imagined myself seeing something like that. It looks incredible, and you can even see the shark wiggling inside the egg. After the aquarium, we went to the Dotonbori area, which is probably the most famous tourist spot in all of Osaka. We went there in the late afternoon, although it's best to go there in the evening when the area lights up, and that's why we went there a second time on our last day. So watch till the end for that. This was also my first time seeing a real crowd in Japan after my time in Kochi and Beppu, as you can probably notice from the last two videos. People come to Dotonbori for shopping, the great food, or just to walk around like us. We saw the famous Glico running man, and of course I had to strike the pose like many others. A very famous store in Dotonbori is Don Quixote, which is more special than most other Don Quixote stores since this one even has a Ferris wheel, but it wasn't running on that day so we didn't get to try it out. If you don't know about Don Quixote, it's basically a Japanese discount store chain where you can get a really wide range of products, from medicines to electronics, clothes, groceries, and much more. When we left the Don Quixote store, we could feel the atmosphere in Dotonbori changing. The area was slowly lighting up, and the scene was turning into that famous bright and shiny Dotonbori. We would have gladly stayed a little longer, but we had to wake up early the next day, so we went for dinner and went back to the hotel to soak in a relaxing bath and get a much needed good night's sleep. The next day we went somewhere I was very much looking forward to during this trip, Universal Studios Japan. If you've been to other Universal Studios amusement parks like in Los Angeles or in Orlando, you might recognize some common attractions, but the one in Osaka still has some unique attractions. Regardless of that, I highly recommend going to Universal Studios Japan. I also recommend going there as early as possible, even before the official opening time, to avoid crowds because the queues only get longer and longer throughout the day. If you're a thrill seeker like me, then I can assure you that you will love the Flying Dinosaur roller coaster ride, which was probably my favorite ride in the entire amusement park. Although it has a long waiting line that can look quite intimidating, it's absolutely worth it. Trust me on that. I think it's now only about right to talk about the big elephant in the room, which is none other than Super Nintendo World. This place has been hyped since its opening back in 2021. To get access to Super Nintendo World at the time of making this video, it's required to make a reservation in the smartphone app of Universal Studios Japan, so do keep that in mind. If you've played Mario related games, you'll be astonished to see this place in real life. The people who designed this place did an amazing job in recreating the Mushroom Kingdom that we've all seen in the games. Super Nintendo World currently has 2 rides. Surprisingly, the one that sounds more boring because of its slow pace was actually the one with the longest waiting line, so we didn't try it. Instead, we tried the ride inside the Bowser Castle, which is basically an augmented reality version of Mario Kart. The attractions of Super Nintendo World don't justify the hype, at least in my opinion. But as a fan of the games, I do understand the hype because this place just on its own is incredibly well designed. After Super Nintendo World, we explored the other attractions of the amusement park. There are many rides worth checking out, including some that are anime related that cannot be found in other Universal Studios in other locations. We also saw this parade as well as a surprisingly great show with lots of explosions. We ended our time at Universal Studios Japan with the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. While this area is less crowded than Super Nintendo World since it's a little older, it's also incredibly well designed with crazy details, and it has, in my opinion, even better rides than Super Nintendo World. As a fan of the Harry Potter books and movies, I really had fun exploring the area and I really enjoyed the rides. After Universal Studios Japan, we went to my favorite restaurant, Koku Ichibanya, to have dinner. We then went back to the hotel, but despite the rain, it was an enjoyable walk. After tons of crowds at the Universal Studios Japan, it was relaxing to breathe some fresh air. Unfortunately, the rain stayed longer than I wished for and was present pretty much all day long on our last day in Osaka. We started the day with a visit to the SHITENNOJI temple, which is one of the oldest temples in Japan, dating all the way back to the end of the 6th century. The temple's outer grounds are free of charge, but certain areas of the temple can only be accessed in exchange for a small fee. The only area in the SHITENNOJI temple that we paid to access was the GOKURAKU-JODO garden. If you have a picture in mind of what a Japanese garden looks like, then this garden is probably very close to what you can imagine. While the rain complicated our visit to the garden because we literally had to walk on mud and our shoes got pretty dirty, no one else probably wanted to visit the garden, so we had it all to ourselves. If you come at the right time, you can even see blooming cherry blossom trees, or if you come in the fall season, you might also see very pretty trees. We went there in mid-April, and even then the garden was so beautiful, and taking a walk in this garden can definitely be one of the most peaceful times you can have in the busy city of Osaka. After the Shitenoji temple, we went to the Osaka castle, the second castle I went to in Japan after the castle in Kochi. If you haven't watched my Kochi video where I also show you the Kochi castle, feel free to do so by clicking on the link on the top right corner of the screen. The Osaka castle is one of the biggest castles in Japan. In the castle's area you can also find impressive stone walls as well as a big park that is a famous spot for cherry blossom trees in Osaka. The Osaka castle looks more beautiful from the outside than from the inside. The inside of the castle was renovated and is now modern. It's now more of a museum. But I really like the view from the top of the castle where you can see the surrounding area of the castle and the city of Osaka. The next destination on our list was the Shinsekai district, which was initially designed as an entertainment district back in the 20th century. We tried to visit the Shinsekai market, but unfortunately most shops were already closed. We went up the TSUTENKAKU tower, which is 103 meters high and offers a very nice view of the city of Osaka from above. After the Shinsekai district, we went for dinner, then went somewhere I have always been curious about, a pachinko parlor. You can literally find pachinko parlors everywhere in Japan. Pachinko is a Japanese arcade game that is used for gambling. Many pachinko parlors like the one we went to have slot machines in addition to pachinko machines. I tried both the pachinko machines and the slot machines. I understood that with pachinko the goal is to shoot the balls into a hole that triggers a slot machine mechanism. But even when I triggered it, I was very confused. The experience was a lot of fun, but it was certainly one of the fastest ways of burning a few bucks, especially when you pretty much have no idea how to play. To end our last day in Osaka, we went again to Dotonbori to see the area at night. Even though it was raining, the area was still crowded and I understand why. This place is a lot better to see at night, even when it's raining. Dotonbori with its bright neon lights and illuminated signs is best to explore at this time of the day. The blend of colors, the extravagance, and everything else in Dotonbori create a vibrant atmosphere and make this place special. The next day we went to Kyoto, our next destination in Japan. I will show you Kyoto in my next video. If you like this video, smash the like button and hit the subscribe and notification bell buttons to stay tuned for more.